Okay, it is finally time for my unhaul. I don't know if you can see how high the books are behind me. Wait. Ta-da! You can't see how high they are, I'm sure. But here I am today to unhaul, I don't know, I think there's like 70 books or some shit here. Most of it's series, so I'm kind of getting rid of all these series. Mostly series that I bought as a teenager that were over 4 or 5 books long and that I read one of and was like, this is not for me as an adult. So let's go right into it. All of these books are going to like local school libraries or to the local used bookstore. So yeah, they got places to go, it's not to you. So first we're gonna start off with the books that I bought as paperbacks and I've already now replaced as hardback editions. So yeah, don't be too mad at me yet. Wait until later. So let's start off with this big old book. All 15 The Wonderful Wizard of Oz stories by L. Frank Baum. If you don't know, the movie is based off of the first book in this series of 15. Here's my cat. Hello. I have better copies of these books now to read in instead of this huge ass, like its pages have like double columns. It's just, this is so inconvenient to read. So we're not reading it like this. Then I have, I'm dropping it on the ground, The Red Necklace and the Silver Blade by Sally Gardner. It's Magic and Murder of the French Revolution. This is like historical fiction, magical realism kind of book. I originally bought it because the audiobook was narrated by Tom Hiddleston, but at the time I couldn't just like focus on a book without like physically seeing it. I couldn't focus on audio, so I never listened to it. And now I'm like, I don't actually want this book. If I want to listen to the audiobook, I can, and that's fine, but I don't need this book to follow along with. And like, I don't know, I don't like books that are multiple books in one generally, and I don't know, there weren't pretty copies of this book, if I'm being honest. So yeah, there's this. Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Wanted the hardback version, had originally bought this when I saw it at a bookstore, replaced it with the hardback version. Coldest Girl of Cold Town by Holly Black. This is a book about vampires, and I thought this was a fun book, so when I read it expecting not to like it, and then I did like it, so I had to replace it with hardback. Then I have Bones of Feria by Janie Lee Cinder. I bought the whole trilogy, and it's all in hardback except for this one, so I'm getting this one back to the used bookstore that I bought it from. Then there is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I had to go through like Book of the Month to get a hardback version of this, because I guess that's the only place that I found that you can get it. And Book of the Month doesn't deliver to Canada, so like that was a fun deal to deal with, but I got a hardback version of this, so it's going. The first and second bind-ups of Night World, so this has Secret Vampire, Daughters of Darkness, and Spellbinder, and this is Dark Angel, The Chosen, and Soulmate. They are both by L.J. Smith. I have the pretty like collector's edition versions of each individual book now instead of these bind-ups, so we don't need them. Then I have Everwild, book 2 of the Skinjacker trilogy by Neal Shusterman. I had the whole series in paperback at one point, and I've replaced all of it now. This was the last one to go, so now it gets to go. My original copy of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I replaced this with a hardback version, so I don't need this paperback version anymore. You were good to me. We were friends, but I don't need you. Thanks for this ride we went on. And then, is this book 3? Book 3, Shattered Sky from the Star Shards Chronicles, also by Neal Shusterman. Finally replaced this whole series in hardback too, so now I don't need this one anymore. Goodbye. Okay, now on to some of the like standalone books I'm not keeping. Little Peach by Peggy Kern. This is a book about like human trafficking and sex work in young black communities. Good book, but not a book I want to really hold on to. Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews. This is signed. I got this from Book Outlet. Read it before it even got here and then went, this book was bad. This is a book about me, Earl, and a dying girl. Dying girl doesn't need a name. Why would we name her? That's silly. Women are just plot devices to make men better people. Didn't like this book. Bad Sicklet. 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott and some other people. This was bad sicklet too, where it was like, I don't know, teenagers should just be dumb and reckless with their health because like they're dying. It doesn't matter. They should just fucking die. This was bad sicklet. Pretty cover. Bad book. Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. I liked this book. This book follows 4 teenagers in Alaska as their lives kind of intertwine as they're all going through their own shit. Good book, but I just don't think I'm gonna reread it, so it's not staying with me. After Alice, a novel by Gregory Maguire. This book had the most bullshit-ass writing I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't get more than like 50 pages, and even that was painful. Couldn't keep it, not worth it, goodbye. Supernaturalist by Owen Colfer. I really liked the Artemis Fowl series when I was younger. I don't know that I still do. I really hope I do, because I have them all and stuff. But this was a standalone sci-fi kind of dystopian book by him. It was fine, but I'm realizing I don't really like high technology kind of sci-fi books, so this one wasn't for me. I feel like I've tried to unhaul this book more than once. This is The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. I don't know what this is about. I bought it because it's $5 and it has dogs on the cover. I probably don't need it. Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I read this. It was fine. I know it's problematic, and I don't think I'm ever going to reread it because I just don't like contemporary romance books, so this book was but yeah, this book not staying with me. Okay. Y'all are gonna be mad at me. Hardback of Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I read this book. Becky Albertalli's writing doesn't work for me. I read it. This book was fine. I didn't love it. I don't know why everybody loves it, because it's a queer book, not written by queer people. So I don't know why it's getting the hype it does, because it's not a good queer book, and we could be hyping up good queer books by queer voices, but whatever. Not keeping that. And The Upside of Unrequited. I was gonna die if I had to finish this book. I read I don't know, maybe 30% of it, probably much less than that. Her writing is so not for me. We don't vibe well. It's not a good combination. So, Becky Albertalli's books are no longer coming into my house, and I will not be reading them, and this one is going to go find a new home. I also feel like I've tried to unhaul this book more than once, and that is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It's actually leaving this time. I'm not even fucking around. I have so much fantasy that sounds more interesting than this to read, and I'm not gonna pick this one up. I don't want to. It doesn't sound interesting to me. It's gotta go. Goodbye. That was really loud. Okay. Now we're at the part where you might be mad at me because I'm just unhauling a whole ass series. And there's one in here that I feel like everyone is gonna be really mad at, but let's get on with it. Okay, I feel like I've also unhauled these books more than once. This is the Zombie series by Darren Shan. I have a Darren Shan series that I haven't read, and I have Zombie series I haven't read. So these are actually finally leaving now, because how long can I be maybe I'll read these. I haven't even read the other series. I haven't read most of my zombie books. These don't sound interesting to me. So they gotta go. They gotta go for real. Then there is We All Fall Down and Tweak, Growing Up on Methamphetamines, both by Nick Sheff. I think this is the sequel to this one. They're a autobiography about his life being on drugs. I read this one. It was fine. It's very repetitive, and I got clean, then I didn't. I did drugs. I spiraled. It was bad. I got clean. I did drugs. And I get it. That's life with drugs. But, it didn't make for a really compelling story, in my opinion, so I'm not going to continue it, and I'm not keeping them. Okay, then I have, I Am the Weapon, I Am the Mission, and I Am the Traitor, all by Alan Zadoff. I bought these as a present for somebody. Then I went, wait, they might be too old for these. And then I never gave it to them. So I have these. I'm not going to read these. They weren't for me to begin with, so I'm unhauling them to give them to someone who might actually like them. Then I have, oh god. Okay. I have Rotten Ruin, Dust and Decay, Bits and Pieces, Fire and Ash, Flesh and Bone. Why do I feel like this is not the 5th book? Yeah, this is book 3. So yeah, I have all 5 of these, even if they're out of order right now. These are by Jonathan Mayberry. They're a zombie apocalypse dystopian series. I read the first one. The first third of the first book was okay. It was oh, this is an interesting take. It's not what I expected. And then it just got to the most predictable ass dystopian shit that I feel like I've read that 4 other times. I didn't want to read it, so I'm not continuing on with the series. And then I have 4. Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant. All by Veronica Roth, obviously. I'm sure you've read all of these. I have not, and I will probably not be doing that. They're, I heard so much about the first book when it came out, and then everyone hated the other books, so I'm not gonna read them, and if I do, I'll just borrow them from my library and not, commit to owning these on my shelf anymore. Kelowna's Fall, Dragon's Oath, Nefret's Curse, and Nobia's Vow. These are all House of Night novellas. I read this one and went, wow, that was boring and unnecessary, and I don't even know if I still like the books, but these don't really matter, it seems, to the books. So, I'm unhauling these because they just take up space and I don't care about the characters in them. So goodbye. Then I'm unhauling the Asylum novellas, Escape from Asylum. These are backwards or the wrong order, but Catacomb, Sanctum, and Asylum, all by Madeline Brew. I read this. It was so bad that I fell asleep and didn't care that it just played while I was sleeping, and I finished it in my sleep because I didn't want to read this. This was like bullshit teen romance book masked as like it really wanted to be horror but wasn't. So it was bad. Didn't like it. It's going. Then I am number 4, The Power of 6, Rise of 9, The Fall of 5, Revenge of 7, Fate of 10, and United as One, all by Pittacus Lore, which was a pen name for that guy who wrote like a million little pieces and scammed the whole world. Yeah, that's the author of these. I read the first one and went, I'm not keeping these books. They're not that good. And they're not that good. But I did end up reading the second and the third. They get worse. They're like, I'm not keeping them. If I listen to them from my library, like, fine, but they're not staying on my shelves. They're not worth it. I'm never going to reread them again. I am 24. These characters are 15. I don't want to read about 15-year-olds making out I am an adult. This is weird. Next, I have this box set of the Sorceress, the Magician, the Alchemist, and then the Necromancer, the Enchantress, and the Warlock. I'm throwing them. These are all from The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel, all by Michael Scott. I feel like I'm too old for these books. These are like a middle grade adventure series, and I feel like these books would be better passed on to someone who is younger, or maybe to a school library. So I'm not keeping these because I'm too old. I feel like I'm too old. I feel like the series isn't something I really care about. So they're going somewhere where kids can read them. In the same vein, and I'm not reading all the names out to you, but I have the 39 Clues books by so many people. I have the first 11 in the main series, and then the first 3 in the Cahills versus Vespers series. I read the first 7 or 8 of these when I was younger and when they were coming out, and I just feel like I'm not that interested in them as an adult, so I'm going to be passing these on to someone who will actually enjoy them. And then lastly for this pile I have The Fifth Wave, The Infinite Sea, and The Last Star, all by Rick Yancey. I read these 2, and I read the first one, and I was like, wow, that wasn't a very good, like, alien book. This wasn't great, but whatever, I have them on audiobook from my library. I read this one and went, I don't know why this book exists, nothing happened. And then I read like 50% of this one and went, wow, I don't know why any of these existed, nothing happened. These books were so boring, the characters were dumb, nothing was consistent. I don't want them. So these are leaving. Goodbye and good riddance. And now we're onto the pile that is going to make people probably, if they're going to be mad at me, they're going to be mad at me for this. I don't know if you can see it from here. So I have The Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, aka Daniel Handler. I read these when I first started BookTube. This was kind of the main thing that I read that year. And I just don't, like, I never read them as a kid. I don't have that nostalgia for them. And so I want to pass them on to other kids who can read them and enjoy them as kids when you're supposed to, instead of trying to enjoy them for the first time as like a 22-year-old or whatever. Like, I just want to not hang on to these because I don't think I'm ever going to reread them, and I don't love them, so please don't be mad at me. I'm hoping that they can go to a place where they get a lot of love and attention, if not at a school library. Who knows? And lastly, this video was probably not as long as I made it out to be. There are so many books, it's just that everything is a series. So yeah. I have this box set of paperback copies of the Inkheart, Inkspell, Inkdeath trilogy by Cornelia Funke? I don't know. I was replacing these with hardbacks because I bought this when I was younger, and I have still not read these, so I'm buying the hardbacks used, but I just don't really love the aesthetic of paperback books on my shelf, so these ones are going to. So yeah, these are all of the books that I am unhauling, and giving to school libraries or to send off to my local used bookstore because I want credit to buy more books. Like, I need more books. Clearly I don't. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you whenever I do my next video.